rotating the Earth on a cosmic spaceship. A Portland native observing the Earth from a safe distance. I'm Ansary, and this is Outside the Box TV, playing in Portland, Oregon. This is being produced and recorded on May 4th, 2024. So, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. If this is your first time, we are going to be with you for 1 hour. My website is alexansary.substack.com. I was born in Portland, Oregon in 1980, and in the early 2000s, I began to make predictions about the world that we're living in right now. Predictions that range from the Chinese-Russian invasion of the country, the need to live off-grid and away from the emerging technologies, and the reality that some humans are possessed. I warned about Portland, Oregon, turning towards the dark side over 15 years ago. It shocked the people of Portland at the time. They thought I hated Portland. They thought I had some mental problems. Now you look at the modern Portland, and people from Portland still in Portland, shout out to Bill Olson, don't even recognize it. And I pray for these people, especially the elderly, especially those that are being, let me watch my words, taken advantage of by a criminal syndicate, which is Portland, Oregon. It's not so much blaming Portland, Oregon or blaming Wheeler, but looking at Portland, Oregon as a microcosm for the macro. Now, we have people that are watching my content from around the world. And in fact, there's more engagement from non-Portlanders than Portlanders. I hope to change that. And if we change that, and if you want to contribute your podcast, if you want to come on this show for a 5-minute cameo, no commercials though, and promote your YouTube channel or your blog, we will do that. We will do that possibly if we have an agreement and we can do some online podcasts. But I would like to see more engagement from the people in Portland. Now, I want to come back, but in light of the recent unrest there and elsewhere, I realize that I have an impulsive nature. You can even call it spontaneous, where I just have a thought and it's like time to get on a plane and go to Vegas. And then time to go on a plane and go here and go here. And I kind of feel myself after the eclipse, to be honest with you, wanting to go in different directions. And instead of impulsively do that, I'm just going to focus on my work and writing and my blogs and contemplate what would be a good off-grid community in the future if we were to live without shackles. Okay, so let's begin. We got lots to talk about. Now, I have experience with Bill, by the way, who's watching this, getting very upset watching unrest footage 10 years ago. And I don't know if Bill and I both realized that our angst, it wasn't just my attitude. I think it was the solar flares too. And so this is what we've got right now, folks. We've got the emerging solar cycle, and I talk about things that are add-ons to what Ben Davidson says. He does what he does. Alex Ansary, who went on Coast to Coast last month, does what he does. And they are complementary, but there may be some differences of opinion, all right? And so my advice is to respect the best of our work, and some of you do that, but there are going to be some differences and political differences. I am nonpartisan, but at present, I'm not going to go to war, so to speak, on any political candidate. I do kind of see them all as being a part of the same system, but in the end, if I end up interviewing someone like I did last night named Kelly, who isn't necessarily a critic of the former president, but she is somewhat of a fan or follower of mine and has her own spiritual insights and disagreements that I'm going to hear out Monday. I'm going to hear out an alternative perspective on the Alex Ansary in-game theory with China and Russia, because she doesn't see it that way. So don't think that I'm going to suppress other viewpoints that don't see it that way, because I don't want what I think is going to happen. However, on the road to 2025, a period in time in which I've been anticipating for a lifetime, I'm going to be reporting on these things. So this is my understanding. They, them, these controllers, and I got more to say about that for those of you that are watching in Portland that are sensitive to conspiracy theories. They are manipulating these wars, these protests, these conflicts to cause unrest, to drive us against each other at a point where some people might use the word ascension, and I use the word spiritually evolve. I'm spiritual, not religious, but there's aspects of certain religious traditions and the true teachings of Christ that are worth preserving. The purpose of the Periodic Ansary's Church is to examine this is what my heart is telling me now, for those that want to tune in on the internet when we do this, Ansary's Church. For me to focus primarily, although sometimes I get slightly off topic, to focus primarily on the different spiritual books that I feel called to discuss, and then to provide some spiritual interpretation. One of the messages last week is that we are more powerful than the machine, as in consciousness and thought. Sure, AI is powerful and dangerous. We should not underestimate it. When it comes to reality at the end of the day, and I've had some experiences with perplexity, where perplexity has sent me in the wrong direction and has given me bad advice. I am not here to promote any particular preparedness product. However, there are certain products, we're going to get to news real quick. There are certain products that you probably want to be aware of, all right? And so we're going to talk about a few of these things. But water barrels, water buckets, however you get them, Goodwill, this, that, and the other. But in the modern day and age, we're going to focus on this and then get to the news. In the modern day and age, you need power for your laptop. You need something substantial, okay? And so I'm going to be testing out a product. And I think somebody sent a link a few weeks ago, but I've chosen to go with something that was a slightly different product with a better deal. I waited, and then a better deal appeared on Amazon. And so I spent $200 on a product that was initially $400, and I have several, that is two, 150-watt solar panels. I just got to get the cables and figure out, troubleshoot, maybe with your help, YouTube, you'll figure out, you'll help me in the comments. And we'll get the right cables and connect my panels to this, and then we'll test it. And then I'll have a what's called a Faraday bag that is about the size of this laptop. Let me know if I need something more to EMP proof this so that I continue during the potential power outage coming. Whether it be here, there, wherever, report on the things taking place. I have an interest also in CB radio. I have an interest also in setting up my own low power FM radio, and kind of like the character from Pump Up the Volume, Christian Slater. And there's some deep quotes and gnosis in there similar to Network with the Howard Beale character. To be able to treat their community in an emergency when people need to know information about threats and resources is a day and age that's coming in which you can be the modern Paul Revere. So I see myself, whether I'm talking about Dion Fortune, or I'm talking about the preparedness, or I'm talking about being aware of China, but not hating Chinese people. I'm going to be different than the right-wingers, because I'm not a right-winger. Okay? In discussing preparedness from a conscious perspective, from an intuitive perspective, and having an older woman who's been prepping since, older than I, but still young. She has been prepping since 2004. So she knows some things, I feel. And by the way, yeah, I want to interview somebody every month, just so you're aware. However, I may be talking to the same person for a while, like I've done with other men in the past, and really picked their mind. And we're going to go back and forth with this individual and get the best of maybe our information out there. And I'm going to hear out some alternative perspectives on a number of things. I just want to say that in my personal life, you know, these are my new shades, by the way, from the mall. It's my new look. Very essay. I'm kidding. And by the way, I did get into a brief fender bender. Nothing, I think, to panic about. I was insured. I've been insured for years. But I've made mistakes in the past when I was living in rural America because I thought that I could. And I would never do that in a more populated area where there's fancy cars and stuff driving around. But the warnings that I've given you, I've tried to follow myself, but haven't followed to the T. So I gave you a list of warnings. Some of you remember those warnings when I came back to the internet. I was very specific. No bueno to this, no bueno to this. I broke a few of those rules, and some of them I thought about breaking. Okay? We're not perfect, but we should attempt to get ourselves back on the straight and narrow and when we fall off. We're not perfect, but we should always make the attempt and not fall into this c'est la vie, do as thou wilt, just because we're spiritual, that we can go out into unspiritual places and shake up the nest. Maybe God may call us, not that I hear the voice of God, I don't, but I do feel the communication technology within me. I don't mean literal, like transhumanism, but I believe, you know, the words of Sufi realities, I watch him once in a while, have moved me more than any other spiritual leader, other than Ike Jones, how I used to see him in the past. Maybe not so much that, but a firecracker of sorts that fired a lot of us up. And I have been, although you haven't seen it, megaphoning my community, standing against all the forms of racism and the Orthodox churches and ignoring the teachings of Christ. And I've demonstrated in my own way. Ironically, let's talk about the unrest. It's synchronized with the unrest of the world. And so my advice has been during this eclipse season for months, whether you're watching in Portland or elsewhere, to go out in your community and in your world and truth them to the best of your ability. Okay? You can do this through DVDs, flyers. You can create a zine. I know there's lots of small publishing companies in Portland. I have an idea, so you know, of 10 books, and some of them are going to be based on transcriptions. Not that everything I said is gospel. There'll be edits and corrections and updates on my thinking here and there. But some of what I've said about the archons or the paranormal, the demons or the jinn or the aliens or what you might define them to be, and their attack on humanity, because that's what we need to talk about. We need to talk about today from an intergalactic perspective, not a, ooh, me, look at Portland. Oh, I'm so traumatized. Look at what they did to Portland. Oh, the meeting place of my parents. And that's crazy. The meeting place of my parents has been destroyed, at least for the moment in time, PSU. But this was so predictable. We have at least one viewer in Portland that we know of that obtained my recent book. So he's walking around town with it. And you can, for free, obtain the information in that book if you comb through the catacombs of alexansary.substack.com. You'll find your way back. Take you back to the first posts of 2023, but they were written in 2019. And in a future book, I'll talk about just the behind the scenes, without pointing fingers, interference and complications and misunderstandings I've dealt with all along the way in my life when I have presented new ideas. And so that's where the focus needs to be. We are in a period now in which you need to, I would suggest, we'll go to the news soon. This is your positive energy thing. This is the time to tap into your truth. It's a positive truth that isn't attacking anyone or anything, but sharing your light. And so I'm not religious per se, but I do believe it's part of my DNA and spirit really animating this DNA to want to know God, to want to speak in favor of God, and for that not to be a bad thing, but none of us are perfect. We are fallen, we are of the flesh. So we are going to be tempted, and those of us that are spiritual beings, we're going to come under certain attack and certain temptations from within our own mind. All right? So how do we segue this? The temptations within our own mind. Sufi realities would call it the shaitan's whisper, the anger. There's a lot of activists today that are angry on the right and the left. And we can argue that they're justified in their anger and we're justified in our anger. But anger by itself, when just shouting and screaming and drinking, throwing bottles and flipping over tables and getting nothing done, isn't good. And it can be manipulated by dark forces even if the cause is good. I believe that Russia manipulated things in the U.S. and against Portland. And I see how they are doing it again, as they are on the side of Hamas. Not that all, of course not. Not all pro-Palestinian protesters are Hamas, but there is an aspect to the radical left in Portland and elsewhere that has absorbed some of that stuff. And my thing was, and why I've been troubled, but I don't want to talk about myself too much tonight, but just bring it up in short and brief. Have a short within a short. That I'm ethnic from Portland, a son of an immigrant. So when I hear immigrants are welcome here, I don't really go, I believe you. And there's reasons why. There's reasons why I don't believe you. And there's reasons why maybe we could say we believe you, then maybe immigrants are being used, like some people say, as a political tool. And when U.S. veterans and others see immigrants getting free stuff, you know they're not necessarily Nazis or white supremacists. If they're asking questions about where is this going, is there going to be an end to this? And I support refugee rights per se, absolutely. I'm not for wars but there's other options for people to live in peace without boxing the immigrants into the four sectors of America. And then I speculate conspiracy within a conspiracy, which some people will laugh at. But the modern conspiracy movement today is not legit. Okay? So, if you would like to see my interview with Kelly Robertson, and there's a link over at my recent upload on YouTube. Okay? So now, we're going to go over and take a look at this. Of course, in order to look at this, okay, we're rocking and rolling. We're good. We had to make sure that this audio wasn't going to... I did a show last night for hours with Kelly, and background music was playing. So, lesson learned. If you're going to interview somebody first time in 10 years, might want to check the audio. Or as an old coworker told me at the Benson Hotel in 2002 in downtown Portland, got to be smart on the table, Alex, as I'm busting away. I miss those old days of Portland. Portland, I love you. I miss you. Portland, women are the hottest on the earth because that natural prana energy, don't let that go to your head. I'm not flirting with you. It's just a scientific fact. And then you go elsewhere in America and it's like, bleh. Trending, North Bend. Is that Oregon? Would love to be in Oregon. But folks, I'm not coming unless, I develop the right connections. I just want to help from a distance and let you know what's going on in the news today. So Pentagon rings the alarm over Russia's devastating anti-satellite nuclear weapons. And we have footage here of the things going on at PSU. Okay. And we're not going to play audio. We're just going to go ahead and roll this out. So there's been days of unrest at the campus where my parents met. And Russia and China, even though there is perceivably a good cause to this, they are manipulating this because they're against the U.S. and Israel. And so they are manipulating, I believe, aspects of both the right and the left at this point. I know that's a bold statement to make, and a whole documentary could be made about that. But anyway, this guy rolled up, said some stuff, started macing them, and then they spray painted his car. David Icke is making some very important points about Musk that would take longer to get into. But it is about how they're playing both sides. And people are criticizing immigration, but they're not criticizing the role Israel is playing in immigration. And Trump doubled down, just so you know, and said that he's going to be closer to Israel than Biden. So there are Trump supporters that are on Twitter being pushed that are supporting the pro-Palestinian movement, but they didn't seem to get the memo that Trump isn't with them. You see what I'm saying? Andy, no, I'm not a fan of his, but I will retweet aspects of what he says that highlights this issue. But I don't like Andy No's past behaviors. So I am a nonpartisan person who is just resharing content, who doesn't really have any friends in the conspiracy movement because of their far-right association. Okay, so just understand that I'm just resharing information from various people. China TikTok role in anti-Israel college protests is an act of war. Okay. So that would take longer to get into. So I'm just making you aware of these headlines. We have an increase in solar activity. Major X 1.69 flare from sunspot region 3663. Okay? So there you go. And then last week we saw 4 simultaneous flares. We have the 444 symbolism. Okay? Now, there is a story about a couple that we're seen having sex in public. And due to the fact that we have more of this unrest energy, protest energy, and also sexual assault energy, you also see an increase in voluntary sexual acts. About people on Burnside ripping off their clothes and having sex like wild animals. It was just something that my little boy consciousness speculated about old Portland. Now that I'm adult and know that it's Poltergeist Central, I was probably picking up on the horned dog ghosts of Old Town. Those dead hookers. May they rest in peace. Of Old Town. Kind of like the ones painted at the corner of 3rd and Burnside. So, folks, right now, and send Portland, Oregon light right now to the corner of 4th and Burnside and create a clearing for at least what we can do reasonably is 1 mile, okay? So, I don't know. I do want to encourage you to engage in mass meditation and to be somewhat of an amateur, okay? Amateur spiritual leader who will take some of these concepts from Dion Fortune. I have her book coming in the mail, and I'm going to know it like the back of my hand soon, folks. And I'm going to use it for the purpose of serving the light, not darkness, even if she herself was not perfect and is a person of controversy. I'm not her and she is not me. What I know is that I have a history of visiting high-power ley line places. And I am now where I am consciously bringing in energy from the true light. Okay, now I'm not planning to get super metaphysical with you on the show, but I am literally beaming my consciousness into Portland, Oregon living rooms. Absolutely. High five. And so even if you're not emailing me, and I won't complain anymore, I will, because The sign is there, continue speaking for you. Just so you know, this conversation is going to continue. At some point, I'll mature to the point of telling you at what time and channel it's on every week, because it's on the same channel and time every week. So what we'll do is we'll just continue on that same time and channel, but maybe if we want to be creative, we'll just mix it up. What are we seeing here with this logo, which actually came to me in a dream the other day? This logo, what we're seeing, as weird as that is. Not that I really want to get into dreamland with you. But we have here the Wagner Group, which we heard emerge 6 months ago, allegedly, potentially going against Putin, but that could be a psyops. They are in Niger, and they have entered an American base, which currently houses 1,000 U.S. soldiers. So we are seeing moves that could lead to other moves that can escalate towards World War III. But again, we're going to talk to Kelly, who thinks that that's all going to be averted. And I don't typically talk to people with different political leanings, but because this person has shared spiritual views, and because I'm not hearing from people, unfortunately, and don't take this as an attack, but I'm not currently hearing from spiritual, self-admitted left-leaning people, or people in the woke movement, or people that would describe themselves as anti-racist. And so when you hear me criticize the woke movement, it is an attack on the movement against racism. It's that there's reasons why I've come to a certain perspective that there isn't really, in my opinion, a stable, authentic like an authentic tamale, real as hardcore as it should be, not violent, opposition to white supremacy movement. I've got a lot of opinions on this, but my concerns with racism aren't limited to that, nor do I believe that white people are systemically the problem. But at times, I know where I've been marginalized, but I blame the programming. This will take longer to get into, but I will be writing an essay why you shouldn't default into an anti-white paradigm, but you should also push back against all forms of racism. And what we would call the leaders in our world, which I call the misleaders, aren't doing their best, in my humble opinion, to remedy the situation. I'm perceiving Musk trying to create a race war. Now, I am on record for warning about this guy being a part of an alien agenda, just so you know. And he did telegraph, and now we're at this point, we're almost to 2025, and so Musk's predictions are not coming true. But he has telegraphed to be a savior of the people, to move us off world by 2025. Does it look like that's going to happen? No, it doesn't. And so I never believed that that would happen, but I always believed that he would play a role in some sort of deception. And him buying Twitter and platforming mentally ill people that are possessed by Satan or something. And really both sides are being played up. And so somebody may not know why Musk, for a while, will play up videos of Hindus killing Muslims to rile up Muslims, folks, or videos of this, that, and the other to rile up white people when they see black people attacking. Not that we shouldn't be concerned about anti-white racism, but they will literally, in my opinion and understanding, zone in on a zip code or a region or a state. And they admitted before with Facebook they did this, where they flooded certain regions with certain levels of propaganda.
We're here to discuss the little Gazas that have risen up on campuses across America and the liberal college administrators and politicians who refuse to restore law and order and to protect other students. These little Gazas are disgusting cesspools of anti-Semitic hate, full of pro-Hamas sympathizers, fanatics, and freaks. The terrorist sympathizers in these little Gazas aren't peacefully protesting Israel's conduct of the war. They're violently and illegally demanding death for Israel, just like their ideological.
So what needs to be communicated right now is that the brutality taking place, this is destruction over 15 Portland police vehicles, is so great that people feel like they have to. It doesn't mean they're justified. It feels like they have to, or they're forced to defend themselves. After all, they're constantly hearing that Israel has the right to defend itself. These types of statements to a rational person. But my personal view on resistance and consciousness, everybody knows is different, and it's not based in rioting in the streets. And so I'm telling you that while people's emotions and anger is legitimate, and I have legitimate pain that I don't want to get into today, that was previously discussed in hours and hours and hours of content and a coming book about living in the post 9/11 world and being the son of my dad and all that. and all that. And now Portland wasn't, to me, the conscious little teapot, short and stout, was in fact very hairy, scary, and very rough and tough, and very anything but love and light. So this type of "we love immigrants, immigrants are welcome here" is a slap to my face personally. Like a lot of you that may be watching this in Portland, you're not ethnic and from the Middle East. You weren't allowed to become homeless when you're on the air. That's what I'm going to say on that. But it's going to come up every show. And I know in my brain that a resentment of me for sharing these aspects isn't healthy. We have to correct the past. If there's going to be a lot of people that are still using, unstable, not from Portland, and in line to get free housing, to be honest with you, I feel like I can do more for you if I was there. But at the same time, I also feel like I would be targeted because I see what other activists, who I may not agree with them, I think that they're not in the wrong to be filming and documenting. So there's stories in Portland of women being assaulted. There's stories of Portland and KTU being told to not cover the news. And so there are people that I may look at that I don't really enjoy what they say. But I may find elements of what they say to be significant. This is a Chinese worker abusing Africans. So people may think that China's woke and China is promoting the woke movement, but it's weaponized. That's what I'm trying to say. And so when people go to TikTok, they're boosted. Their movements are boosted, and it works for a time. It works for a time, but it's really a trap. So what is Trump's position on this?
I mean, Israel was protected by Congress, and now Congress is just doing numbers that are unbelievable with, I think, a very, very small group of people within Congress, and it's got to stop. But we have to go back to the roots. We have to protect. We have to stop the anti-Semitism that's just pervading our country right now. And
yeah, I want to hold back from just full-on, political commentary at this point and just talk about what's happening and let you decide. I'm just going to share neutrally without attacking. And by sharing neutrally what I think, it's not that I'm saying he's incapable of being better than he is that I am literally nonpartisan for a reason. And it protects me from compromise, and it protects you from compromise. But making false stuff up about somebody that isn't true, that's not something that we want to do. But talking about our concerns about the people that control, right, the little red buttons, and being concerned about their level of consciousness and who is in control, we need to talk about that. There's another article about how the U.S. is trying to tell China and Russia, do not just let the robots and AI control the nukes and set us up for mutual assured destruction. But again, I'll be interviewing someone that doesn't see that in our future. But it sure seems like they are trying to drive us in that direction. Her other perspective was, although I cut a lot of my own jibber jabber out so you can hear her speak, I apologize for the audio. I spent hours trying to correct that. She said that their agenda was a bioweapon for the health event, and that somehow that was not something that played out. So that's one perspective. I don't like Wheeler. Wheeler was about a top off four. But people will come out every now and again and say the obvious when they have the opportunity, whoever they are. If you believe that damaging a business or trashing a library will impact events in the Middle East, then you are delusional, okay? So sometimes people will pop up and say, if you think you can do X, Y, Z and do X, Y, Z, you are delusional. And we're all doing it to each other at this time as we go through this eclipse. And this is interesting. Hulk Hogan says wrestling rivals sent him a voicemail after death. That would be Mr. They Live, Rowdy Roddy Piper. We see, again, more footage of Portland. Welcome to the jungle. We've got fun and games. We've got anything you need. We know the names. We are the people that can find anything you may need. A little bit of CBD, a little bit of THC, a little bit of sex work, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of Thai food, a little bit of Vietnamese food, a little bit of drum rolling. Well, you don't really have the drum rolling cool hippies anymore at the waterfront. That's very 2000. I'm an old man. I'm an old Portlander, you see. I remember the old PDX Info has interesting info on Portland, but I don't know them and they don't engage with me. They're just people on Twitter. And then we see Portland Pioneer Courthouse Square has been smashed up. Nothing new under the sun here. And then, of course, online with a strong G2, Magnetic Storm, Wham Bam, Thank You Ma'am, Whoop Whoop, Whoop Whoop, and the geostorm, for those that are familiar with my content, sometimes the geostorms, stay with me here, folks, will follow the unrest. As in, the unrest will go down first, and then there will be the bada bing, bada boom. Okay? Last moments of the comet as it plunges towards the sun. Heading towards the sun, screaming in the night. Check it out on YouTube. A lot of great 80s videos on YouTube that you probably haven't seen since you were in your parents' house watching the Headbangers Ball in the 1980s. So how is this affecting us as a comet plunges towards the sun? And don't forget about the Devil's Convent. And I don't know what we need an astrologer in Portland to come on this show. And there is a psychic Portlander, just so you know, that's out there. Okay. That is out there somewhere. Okay. And there's so many geopolitical articles, man. It's all over the place. U.S., China, robot, AI nukes. Russia. Okay, one article. U.S. seeks assurance from China and Russia that AI will never control their nuclear weapons. What could go wrong? If you think the prospect of AI controlling fighter jets, drones, machine guns is concerning, think about the potential ramifications of AI making decisions on the deployment of nuclear weapons. I assume you've seen me karaoke over Pink Floyd, Welcome to the Machine. If not, see me after class or find in the archives. I'm old school with this stuff. That was a 2007 episode. I did a lot of my best work in Portland, but I'm also doing some of it now and I'm trying to anchor in energy where I am. The U.S. is one of the countries that has declared control over nukes will also rest in human hands, and it wants China and Russia to make the same promise. I mean, I don't know how to respond to this. This is propagandish too. State Department Arms Control Official Paul Dean. Yeah, the U.S. should control everything. That would make everybody safe. U.S. and Israel. Yes, it's all a lie. It's all a ruse. This difference of opinion. This is why a lot of people were speculating that there even would be a World War III years ago. Like, psh, we all know you're connected, you're linked in. But I'm like, yes, folks. But that's the deception. They're all linked in, they're all connected. Whatever's happening, they may, not will, may stage a conflict in which they already like conspire against us, the people. And they, the world leaders, call them what you will. Call them by their names. If you want to support them, fine. I won't attack them, but definitely won't do any black magic on them. But do we need to pull back from their influence? And the influence of the dark ETs that is masquerading of the light. And is there a true spiritual evolution independently that we all can activate right now in this, what some have called a Babylonian New Year? And the answer is yes. They are, again, staging these conflicts at a time in which we have the potential. They released Top Gun for a reason, didn't they? Yeah. And Val Kilmer read his memoir in 2000, was sworn to secrecy because they put Iran in the plot. And then look at Iran now. And then Obama, right? Obama. Listen, to you Portlanders, I say this with love. It was not a conscious move to place Obama over me. All right? Make of it what you will. I was your own. Portland born. I was your boy. And then this guy came up on TV and went, hey, baby, I'll fix your problems for you. Just let me kiss you before I. And then people kind of went along with it. I'm like, no, he's harming you. No, they're like, you're racist. I'm like, no, it seriously is not that. No, we know you're kind. We know you're. And it's like, wow, here we are so many years later. And I'm saying basically the same thing and have for, you know who. And the guy in control now. So I am documented not getting on board the doopity doop doop doop. But the other day, I'll tell you, Elon Musk is positioning himself to be the savior of the people. Let's just bring this to center. We're at 35 minutes. Good. You're still here. You haven't tuned out. And remember, my email is soarstorm333 at proton.me. That's SolarStorm333 at proton.me. If you would like to come on the show, here, if you would like to send me footage from the streets, you can send it to the email. You can get geeky with it, freaky with it, and get it set up a Dropbox type scenario. We got all kinds of footage of what's going on. I am nonpartisan. I don't have the political agreements of many people on YouTube, but YouTube itself, over the course of the last 10 years, has a pretty good historical record of the attitudes and belief systems of some of the protesters in the city of my birth. And I have been very, 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 I would not say open borders, but very, very defensive of refugees, in particular, Afghanis and Syrians, for a long, long time without even really knowing them. Because I felt really like them, just because of a genetic inclination or similarity, just because of my dad. But I found in the last few years, and this isn't some sort of a nod to racism, I don't like racists, but whether I like it or not, there is only, for whatever reason, whether we understand it or not, certain demographics that are receptive and political persuasions to my content. And I've said things and done things at times to alienate them and piss them off, but sometimes they're forgiving and they keep coming back. Even if they don't like everything that I have to say, there's aspects to it. So I am in my heart intending to do the most help, not damage, and help. And so my criticisms of society are not meant to humiliate and make sad those aspects of society, but to motivate you into an attitude that we can do better. This thing that he is saying is not true. We actually do support aspects of what he's saying. But I live now in a shadow ban reality where when I put out videos, it's much less than before. And so it can be challenging to the mental health and stamina to put out content and not know if it's reaching people. So I'm just going to try to move forward with the newfound discipline that even if I don't hear from you or get those emails, that it is helping you, because I did receive 50 emails or so, maybe 50 to 100 from Portlanders during the 2000s. And so I am led to believe that there was something, not that the end of the world ended in 2012, but that we did go through a real shift that was not actually for the positive. And those of you in Portland might be right on board with this one. Because I'm going to say this, and let's get back to the news. We got to have these breaks here and now. We don't have enough time to go to a music break. But on the long shows we do music breaks. And on the Substack, we play full-on music. Portland was at one point one of the greatest cities on the earth. And in my opinion, it was that magical, loving energy of Portland, Oregon that allowed my parents from different places to meet. And if they were to meet in Portland, Oregon and maybe fornicate today, and there are people meeting from different places, what I mean to say is maybe they wouldn't under today's circumstances. And although there are some that are meeting and hooking up that are experiencing their sexual freedom, do whatever you want, do whoever you want. Here's what I disagree with, based on my own experience. It's not bashing my parents, but it's true. There's way more love that my dad has for his children that he's had that are more of his own kind, that is more easily able to control. If people are going to have children, regardless of the ethnicity, they should attempt to, and I'm not a father, they should attempt to prepare them for the challenges of tomorrow's world as a spirit, as a spiritual being, but maybe their ethnicity too, to not put them in fear, to know that in the world that they're growing up in, there may be certain people, and this applies to anyone, male, female, regardless of ethnicity, whether it's a white girl being warned about certain things, or it's a brown, Middle Eastern, mixed race person growing up in 10 years in Europe, that they may face certain challenges in the world due to maybe the irresponsible actions of either world leaders or those controlling immigration. And so on one level, there may be a desire for some to compensate and have to work harder to catch up. And then there may be other aspects of society to where there are aspects of society that people see, as I said, in which they are being helped. People that aren't from here. And U.S. veterans are homeless. And not a few of them, but a lot of them. I can't really explain that, not really knowing a lot of them. But it's clear that they've fallen through the cracks of the system. And so if you have a system, then we'll get back to the news, that seems to be compassionate, but it's going to let other people fall through the cracks under the guise of diversity, fire people that are actually in some cases innocent of white supremacy. Then that's not actually doing anything about the problem that you're saying you're going after. It's creating in their mind an excuse to be against you and the woke movement. And so the woke movement, and I know this, I'm not making this up, I'm not a right-wing provocateur, I'm not a conservative, folks, and I've been slandered as one. The modern woke movement has created more hate, not less. And I have not benefited. I'm saying this neutrally, not complaining and being emotional or emo. I have not been in receivership of any of this supposed lives matter movement. Not that the woke movement has said all lives matter. Having said that, this is very controversial, what the road that I'm going to go down right now. I'm going to bring up an audio for you to hear, and this is what I have to say. There's a lot of criticism of some people that may be perceived as non-white for criticizing aspects of white supremacy, but I see, and I said it last week, at times that we're going to show you one example. And this could be staged, just so you know. It could be a deep fake. But I don't know. I've never met a woman like this. But I'm not saying that there aren't these sentiments. But I personally haven't met a woman like this. So a white woman is sharing the statements of another white woman. Make sure you understand that. Not a Muslim, not an anti-white person. And so Libs of TikTok, run by a white woman, is sharing the statements of another white woman that says they need to get rid of white men and get with every other man and then to eat the white men. First of all, I understand that some people are horn dogs and like to taste the flavors of the rainbow. But to talk about eating, it sounds, if this is a legit video, a straight up possessed human. So I would not blame the white woman or the left. I would chalk this up to demonic possession and ding, ding, ding. You know what I'm about to say now. Get the t-shirt. That's right. That's right. This isn't about white people or the left. This is about people, some of them becoming possessed and flipping on their camera and going, and here we go. This is what it sounds like.
We are talking specifically about white men. And I'm just going to say it, fucking unapologetically going to say it. White men are the most dangerous species in the entire fucking world to women and to everyone else. So we can reframe, right? Men want to be like, not all men. It's always a white man that fucking says that, by the way. Not all men are like that. Okay, so let's reframe the question. Would you rather be trapped in the woods with a white man or a black man? A white man or an Arab man? A white man or an Asian man? A white man or an Italian man? This one might be tough. A white man or a Frenchman? White men are the problem.
So, I want you to understand that I also am interpreted to be just white too. And so the anti-white sentiment, I am in an area that is predominantly non-white. It's white and non-white. And a lot of people, you know how it is. They look around to just analyze what people are. And I'm attempting to kind of tune that out at this point in my life and not respond to it as much as I feel that I did in Portland and Pagosa Springs. Having said that, I will not downplay the anti-white sentiment. And for white people to be anti-white is bad and to wish harmful things on them. And there's many, many examples of this that I saw in the last week, last few days, on the same day. That's so startling, I don't feel like I can talk openly about this. I think that those of you that are on this route of doing the curse thing, you need to stop what you're doing. Because what I saw in the last couple of days shocked me to my core. I saw over 4 examples of people that were spewing out this hex frequency. And one of them was by the Secret Sun Speaks Twitter. And the tweet was that we should shotgun out these leftist women, you know, the leftist crying faces to Ukraine. Basically, forgive me for being bold with this, but that would be an example of someone being overtaken by a frequency of traffic the women out of America. And it wouldn't be the first time I've seen this. And I told you that there's adult content that they're allowing that's not Muslim-owned that glamorizes this type of human trafficking reality. And so I'm not going to stop discussing my concerns about this. It doesn't mean that it's going to happen, but it is a reality. And you don't have to be a saint to have concerns about people's safety. And there's a real lack, in my opinion, of appreciation for this type of content in my humble experience, having done this, having spoken about this issue for a long time, okay, and having started my program 20 years ago. I'm now in the year 2024. And so I think that the response to shadow banning and the attacks that are coming on the internet is the underground railroad of sorts that is people working together, sharing flash drives and information on other forms of what aspects of the internet does exist, folks, to get information. So I would love some Portland contacts to help me get some of these programs out. And if there was additional help, I have the energy and time at present. This could change. This could change, but right now I have the time, and I feel like me just shotgunning all my info into YouTube is kind of being gobbled up and harvested by the archonic forces. Not trying to sound schizoid, but just constantly going for hours and hours and hours into a beast system that's removing likes, as Search for the Truth told me himself, and others have told me themselves in a recent poll, where everybody said it's not accurate, it's not reflecting the amount. So that means there's back-end interference on BoobTube. I don't want to go to BitChute. I got reasons for that. And I watch very few content over there. 1 to 2 channels, that's it. No Odyssey, no this. I try to keep it clean. And I'm telling you, the fact that they don't have more of a politically neutral tube site for us without the interference, man, should make you wonder. I don't want to use the words left-leaning, but I want to say something that isn't full bore like right-wing, and just like another, if people want to be pro-Trump, fine, be pro-Trump. But there shouldn't be these platforms that have this political slant to it, to where everything revolves around the worship of this guy. I'm always going to treat that with suspect because, as someone said to me recently, no, it's not him that I've been waiting for. It's we are the ones that we've been waiting for. Now, let's rock it back. If we just covered Portland news, we would be here all day. Murder suspect accused of eating victim's face near Las Vegas Strip. Now that is something we are going to look at, my dear. In fact, let's just go ahead and put it on the glass. Come on now. Well, today's program is coming to you ad-free. Murder suspect accused of eating face.
Murder in downtown Las Vegas. We thank you for joining us here at 6.
Well, we thank you.
And I'm
thank you very much.
It happened yesterday morning around the area of 3rd Street.
Well, it happened in 2012 too. Did you know that?
Kyle Payne was there first with news of this murder yesterday, and he joins us live.
Not a new thing.
With the latest.
I reported on it in 2012. And I literally, folks,
consider yourself warned. The detail.
I literally had a thought about the face-eating attack energy coming back with the nasty online behavior and murders and people going to assassin behavior, and boom, on cue, I look at the news and I think it, and there it is. But I didn't make it happen. That's woo-woo, woo-woo, you made it happen. No. I tapped into it. I had the thought, and then I looked at the news. I wasn't focused on the negative. I just have my antennas up looking for the warning signs of the cyclical ooga booga primal man psychopath energy that rears its ugly head. At the very minimum, when we have these, especially when we have an eclipse, combined with increased solar activity, combined with comets slamming into the sun or flying past the sun.
Details of this murder here in downtown Las Vegas are disturbing, but this is the block where police say they arrested a man named Colin Check, age 31. He was arrested yesterday on open murder charges. Not in court.
No comment. I mean, take a look at this judge.
Today, Judge Rebecca Sachs said Check was in the hospital. A police report identified the victim as Kenneth Brown. And a document obtained by the 8 News Now investigator says Brown had a large cut to part of his head and that he was missing an eye and an ear when police found him. And neighbors yesterday were amazed with what they heard.
Pretty bizarre, man. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff that goes on out here, as you said, but this takes the cake as far as just all out there-ness. You know what I mean?
It's pretty disgusting.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. So, I'm not sure what this person may have been going through, but yeah, it's something else. I would say entirely.
In Solar Wars 2025, I discussed basically how a lot of people want to blame it on bath salts. Okay, they want to blame it on bath salts. However, I warned about this years ago, and that is what is taking place. Is that people are activated by the eclipses, they're taken over, but if you talk about this, people think that you're mentally ill. So, yeah, UCLA, this is, now whether they were intelligence assets or whatnot, yeah, we definitely have to get through this. There was a beatdown of a guy who was at the barricades, but if you go to these situations where, this is the stage-managed civil war, this is what it is, and they're using the algorithms to boost both sides on Twitter. So these people can easily organize on a flash mob There she is, burning the Quran in Portland. I'm not into the traditional Orthodox prayers. I'm not into the oppression of women, but burning holy books and baiting people and being in line with right-wing behaviors that are part of a collective hive mind is not of the light. So we have this behavior, laser pointing. We have Oregon Cop Watcher exposing the IDF. And then we have me reminding Mike Bluehair, Oregon Cop Watcher, while he's right about the IDF. In spirit, Mike Bluehair, Mike Smith of Portland, Oregon, is someone that kicked me out of his house when I did a lot to help him when he was homeless. And so you do have people in Portland like Jesse Spalmberg and others, and I can go down the list, and people that are working in housing that are not, and it's not me being demanding, it's saying that it would have helped if I was put on a housing list while I was in Portland. So every now and then it'll be brought up that this has been on my mind for years, Portland, that I'm not on a housing list. And I have left voicemail, so you know, to Wheeler and his staff and said it would be complimentary if they had a come back to home program. If you were being compassionate, it's me using my free speech. It's not me being hateful. It's me going, if you're going to have a system that is currently housing a variety of people, then consider the people that are trying to do something for your community that were on TV that were maybe right about a few things too. You know what I mean? I don't see myself as better than, but trying to do something to help you. That's what it is. And I think that should be considered. So I'm not in support of this taunting from this Zionist. We'll hear him.
That's right. Put me on camera. I work for myself. Take off your hijab and get a job. You guys are all fat, ugly, and broke.
We're ending this program at a very specific time.
Why don't you get a job?
Okay, and so there's another video of a martial artist. This footage is really extreme, very violent, very traumatic, and if you watch too much of it, you can go crazy. Okay? You can go crazy, so I'm going to use discretion. There really is no point. You can watch this for hours, and I already did. And then there's the violence and the trauma of seeing the dead bodies in Gaza. And I'm telling you, it traumatizes me because I see that you're upset about that, but I'm not going to repeat myself. Folks, I'm going to be writing a book about my life. I'm going to be writing a book about my life. It will be in my name, but a lot of it has to do with what I dealt with in Portland, and I feel pushed out of Portland like that.
On
basically,
the library step.
This is my, and I don't feel that the pushback to me
early Wednesday
because I'm not a right winger is justified. I'm ethnic. I'm anti-far right. I know a lot about the solar flares, and Portland is affected by solar flares. Let's talk about it, Keith. Highest sunspot number for 22 years. Oppenheimer Ranch in your face. Diamond David is not a god. You would have to go back to August 2002 to have a daily sunspot number higher than the peak sunspot number recorded in April 2024. So, short story, we'll talk about it later. I dealt with a lot of rude behavior from SOAR researchers that have gone viral that did the whole death of the sun thing. So, on many levels, I was
Somebody's being beaten.
pretty accurate that we would see a fierce solar cycle. Now there's concerns about a supernova that will be affecting planets. And really what we're going for is the super Zionist kicker who did the crescent kick. For those of you, they destroyed. See, this is the problem with me talking about when my parents met. See, the aliens directed the people. This is it. Check out this guy. Now, this guy seems military trained if I've ever seen one. Look at that. That is. And that guy straight up looks IDF. That guy. So are they sending in agents of Israel and stuff like Black Ops? Like, wow, man. Wow. That's hardcore. Then oh man, we've got the funky town. And then this lady's being exposed for God knows what. Oh dear. Oh, I don't even know. A top aide warned the governor that the arena in which the first lady, records now make clear that regularly met with people whose employers had major policy or financial interests in front of the state, particularly in the area of behavioral health. Yeah. So we have a situation in Portland where they're not really helping people. You know what I'm saying? I would like to take a road trip across America, but I'm not going to do it if this stuff's going on. I'm going to just see myself as overtaken by the eclipse energy. The allegations are that they are doing slapstick, throwing themselves down the... Right, so there are videos saying the cops did this to them, and there are videos saying that they did this to themselves. You know, in some sort of like tactic to make it look like... now, we have traditionally seen extreme police brutality in our history in America from the 1980s. We haven't seen it as extreme lately. This is really about the manufactured Civil War scenario. Okay? And we do see David Icke calling out Musk for the globalist agenda, but he won't yet really sever his connection with Alex Jones. And once he does that, I will applaud him for that. But until he does that, I will continue to be disappointed in him. I reported last week or recently that there is an increase in cyber attacks. Another major pharmacy chain shuts following possible cyber attacks. This guy, probably from Portland, likes to say, actually a lot.
Really wet and it's crowded.
Actually
a lot, and
actually,
you get by on food, so actually, and it's like no worry about food in the winter, that's for sure. So that's pretty nice, actually. The holiday meals are really good.
So it's tough to reach Portlanders sometimes.
Myself at home, and
Actually.
that's just that.
How long were you homeless out here for?
Just a couple years.
Dixie
actually.
Tavern.
So,
that's
right
if that's
before the start of
Portland.
the whole pandemic.
That's
and
in
the
Old Town.
disease spread.
That place always
Is that
freaked
what
me out.
sent you to the streets was COVID?
Yeah.
I actually just
we need to talk about COVID.
spraying.
Okay, so we may have another health event coming back. I respect those of you that are wearing masks, but some of you are way too subservient to the government when the government is killing people. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's really concerning that you're so willing to roll up your arms for Big Pharma when Big Pharma for many, many years has been anti-pot. Just because Oregon has pot and Portland has pot doesn't mean that you should just be relaxed with your pot and trust Big Pharma. Big Pharma is destroying people. And if you think that women are at risk in the street, if you think that drugging people up in Portland, Oregon is the answer to your problems, wow.
Pray to the Lord.
That's opening up a Pandora's box,
And so
actually.
that one guy
Yeah, your
that you're
current
talking about
no. If you think all I'm about is being a conspiracy theorist, you are wrong. Concluding thoughts from me to you. Listen to me carefully. Listen to me very, very carefully. Okay, I'm trying to communicate a truth to you at this time. I'm doing this myself without a producer. So bear with me. Okay, so concluding thoughts. It isn't about being a conspiracy person or being anti-anybody or hating on Portland. It's being born in a day and time in which we are living through idiocracy, in which I can go on national radio, talk about things in real time, and predict that there's going to be an increase in attacks blamed on Muslims, which we talk about on a regular basis, not so much tonight. And basically my warning for refugees and people of color and white people that are not racist, that we in America have been set up for a fall. And I've been trying to, for 20 years, reach people on the left and the right, and here I am in 2024, and the results are not great. I'm working with, in reality, a handful of souls that have the eyes to see, ears to hear, and heart to feel. And for right now, that's going to be good enough. I'm going to ask those of you in the final moments here to consider ways in which you might be able to help me, assist me, and get this information out to the people of Portland, Oregon. Because the truth is, if you, the people of Portland, Oregon, don't understand me and can't understand me, how can the rest of the world? There's something special in you and around you, and that's why this information is coming to you every week. Until next week, I'm Alex Ansary, reminding you the path to the ultimate truth and place of power still lies within.